Welcome. This is Astrology Insight Now. It's a weekly forecast program with astrology and a guided meditation activation to help you make the most of your week and to heighten confidence for daily life. It's run by Pamela Cuccinell, that's me, the astrologer, and Susie Mazzoli, Master Healer. We invite you to find out more about our individual work, Susie Mazzoli, susiemazzoli.com, or insightoasis.com for astrology. We look forward to your joining us every week. Please share with your friends. Here we go.
Welcome, everybody, to week 24 of this fabulous year, 2024. I'm happy to say that this is my birthday week. And so,
Woohoo!
yahoo! I love the middle of June. And I kind of like week 24. I like those even numbers. It's interesting, Pam, I always want to know why people tend towards liking even or odd numbers. Is it maybe because we're born on an even numbered day or an odd numbered day? But that's something I might start looking into. So,
Okay.
welcome everyone. And Pam's going to let us know all about the astrology for this week and how we can maybe try to plan our lives a little bit ahead of time. And then I'll be back for our meditation. So, what's in store for this week?
Good question. This week, for some of us, may feel very tumultuous, and I'm going to explain that. We had the new moon in Gemini last week, so we're in the waxing moon cycle, which means it's a good time to build towards things. But the thing about that particular new moon in Gemini, even though it's a wonderful dreaming moon energy and uh, goal setting, is the dream piece of it, because we can imagine or picture things that just are a little too pie in the sky or don't have the pieces that bring it down to earth. And I think one of the things that I'm observing about this particular lunar cycle, especially because this week ahead of us is one that seems to really call for adjustments, is what is it with the dream or the vision or the goal or the expectation or the concern? Because sometimes basically we're dreaming concerns where we're so in the soup of what seems to be the where things are going that we can't see the space to define, manipulate, shapeshift into something that's different. And one of the things that is critically important as we do any work that's about evolving or dreaming or bringing a vision into reality is also working with the reality of self. I mean, who are each of us? So it's important to put that extension from the inside out. So from the place of the third chakra, the fourth chakra, the centers that have to do with intrinsically who you are and reaching that out. So, summertime, which is what Northern Hemisphere people are experiencing or about to walk into, because the summer solstice will be next week, and I'll talk about it then. But as we're leaning into that, for many people, it's a time when things kind of slow down. And yet, with the slowing down, it can create stress, especially for people who are self employed or who rely on the busyness of commerce or what goes on. So we look at, as we're into this week, and the moon is in the sign of Leo on Monday, is do you feel fulfilled? Are you feeling a sense of, I am able to reach out, express who I am? I feel seen. I feel appreciated. I feel heard. And if any of us don't feel that way, oh, that's my dog wanting to feel heard. Sorry. But if any of us don't feel that way, although always these disruptions happen for a reason, there is that sense of disruption. What will call attention to myself? What's a way to stir things up, stir the pot, if you will? And so, with that in mind, just know that for some of us, or we may be around people who are doing that, Monday into Tuesday can be days when there is a call for attention or a call for self expression. And ideally, it's in a way that's, look at me, aren't I wonderful? That's a showstopper and gets people excited. And that can certainly be part of it for those of us who feel in control of the message and how we're delivering it. But if you're having a sense of overwhelm or around someone who is, it can also be a time when there can be an inappropriate expression or of another concern is an accident or something can occur that disrupts or shakes up the situation. So we want to be in alert mode on Monday, the 10th, and the 11th, Tuesday. And the times I give are Eastern time, so you'll want to adjust depending on where you are when you're listening to this. But that doesn't mean that it's something we should be nervous about or wary about. But what's critically important, and I must emphasize this, for those of us who are born with strong Mars and Pluto configurations in our horoscope. So that would mean that in your horoscope, you've got Mars opposed Pluto, or Mars square Pluto, or Mars conjunct Pluto. The trines, the softer aspects, not so much, but if you have what we consider a hard aspect, a challenging aspect, these days can feel very much like a pressure cooker energy. So, the best way to handle that, regardless of if you know what I'm talking about or you don't, is if you or notice someone around you is feeling very frustrated or a sense of thwarted, then the last thing you want to do is add to that pressure. It helps to work with whatever's in the way or around whatever's in the way instead of force. Force is, it's the worst way to handle it. Basically, what's going on is we call Pluto the higher octave of Mars. So Mars is libido, it's desire, it's assertion, aggression, anger. Pluto is power. Pluto is force. Pluto is ultimate transformation. And when these two energies are at odds with one another, we can force things that don't want to be forced. This is when people can hurt themselves or someone else because they are so convinced or just blindsided that something must go a certain way. And sometimes it just can't. Sometimes you have to go around something, or you have to wait, or you have to rethink what you had wanted the outcome to be. And so that's the actual magic of these couple of days, because with Moon in the sign of Leo and some activity with Uranus, which is about change or the unexpected, and this Mars Pluto configuration, basically what can happen is, okay, if I'm trying to push something and make it happen and I'm determined and it's not allowing the give, then another possibility can open up, but I don't even see it because I'm so insistent or focused on doing it my way. And so that is the potential that we can allow ourselves if we allow that sort of adaptability. And what I love about the moon being in Leo at this point in time is Leo reminds us to play, to not take ourselves so seriously. One thing about Leo energy, which we can love or it drives us crazy depending on our relationship with it, is Leo energy will do whatever's required to get attention. So there's a playfulness, there's a pratfall ability, there's that I don't really care, I just want to be looked at. Yes, we have the super glam Leo, but we also have people who will do the absurd or whatever's necessary to get that smile out of the audience. So humor is the antidote of these very intense days, because they're very intense days. And we may notice that on the news, things that are happening with power struggles, which we see a lot of in today's world. But the energy starts to lift. I would say certainly by the void of course, 3:16 p.m. on Tuesday the 11th. And then the moon will enter Virgo, but not until 1:39 a.m. on the 12th. So these Eastern times that I'm giving, you want to adjust if you don't live in that part of the world, Eastern time zones. But basically what's going on is once the moon's void, of course, in the sign of Leo, that's really the time to take it easy, to play, to not take things so seriously, and to be expectant of what happens next. Because when the moon enters the sign of Virgo, many of us are much more apt to kind of get down and get things done. Virgo really likes to pay attention to the details, whatever area of life Virgo is in your horoscope. That's where you thrive on some sort of routine, even if you're one of those people who feel you have no routine. There is a focus that occurs with this energy. And so those of us who Virgo's strong in our horoscope, the next couple of days can feel very productive. What's important is, especially on Wednesday the 12th, is that you prioritize, because you may feel there are many distractions or possibilities or things that kind of crop up and want your attention. So you want to focus on absolutely the most important things to do over these next couple of days. The other thing that's critically important is you want to think in terms of who is the right partner. Is this person going to show up? Will I get the follow through I need? These several days at the beginning of the week aren't necessarily the best days for appointments, for pitches, for trying to get something off the ground, because there is a lot of disruption, change. Things are not totally clear. The lack of clarity comes in Wednesday, Thursday into Friday morning, because we don't have all the information we need yet. We may think we do, but other things are going to be coming in to grab attention, to define more clearly. Not really high communication days, which is interesting because we're in the waxy moon cycle of the Gemini new moon. And yet what's happening at this week is we're very much being asked to be adaptable, to have a sense of what is the unknown. What is it we don't have the complete picture of yet? Because if we're working on something thinking this is the way it's going to pan out or go, we're going to get thrown. It's not going to come together in the way we think. And so that's why Wednesday the 12th, as I said, highly productive day with the right partners. This can be very defined on this day if you look twice at messages, emails, texts, think about what was actually said as opposed to filling in the spaces. Oftentimes, what happens is that we will anticipate or expect or aim for how a person may respond or follow through, which isn't necessarily how things are going to happen. So, as we look at that with a more critical eye, which can be possible on Wednesday, Thursday, into Friday, as long as we're looking at what information don't we have. Okay, so and so said they're going to come or they're going to bring this, but wow, we're still missing this component or we don't have that we need. When you really keep in mind what's missing, then you can insulate or aim to fill in a more adaptable way that which may not come through with who you hoped or expected it might. And I'm not saying that people are just incredibly unreliable this week, because that isn't necessarily the case, but this is a week when things can not follow through in the way we anticipated because of situations beyond our control. And when we allow for that possibility without nailing ourselves to absolutes, then we're able to adapt and thrive and do okay, here's a little quick dance step to get me to the place where I need to go. But this becomes more fluid midweek because especially those of us who have a lot of Mars energy, a lot of Pluto energy, a lot of what we call fixed energy that kind of stayed in that sense of this is how I want things to go. We are the people, because I'm one of them, we are the people who may find the beginning of the week just something we really have to work consciously with. Otherwise, we find ourselves in situations that we're going to need to shapeshift and make allowances for because it didn't go the way we want. But the last thing we want to do is ignite or go in a way. I mean, actually, ignition's okay if you know what you're burning for, but you don't want to implode or explode. those are things we want to certainly avoid because they don't help. So Friday the 14th, here's the payoff. So at 1:54 p.m., the moon goes void of course, and it's void of course in Virgo for just a little bit of time because at 2:12 p.m. it goes in the sign of Libra, and this sets up a delicious weekend. Whether you love to be around people, relate, communicate, connect, network, do all those party, whether you love that or you just prefer very quiet time, music, maybe one or two people that you absolutely love to be with, whatever your preference, this is a delicious weekend for absorbing the wonder of being human. And I say that because human beings, we are, what did I read recently? It was so interesting. Oh, yeah. Human beings, whales, and dolphins are the only creatures on the planet that continue to live, thrive, and go on past childbearing years. And that's because we are the evolved creatures, theoretically, that we're not just here to procreate and die. So the Libra energy really celebrates what it is that makes us intrinsically human, and that's relating. And relating in this time of extreme polarization and alienation couldn't be more valuable, because it's the opening up, it's the listening, it's the connecting to other human beings, animals, nature, that really helps us accelerate our consciousness evolution. And I think one of the most challenging seductions of this point in time is there is so much buzz to distract us. Oh, fear this, look at this, oh my God, this is going to happen. Oh my God, he thinks that, she thinks this. They think, oh my God, there's so much disruption and noise that the sinking into listening, being, and celebrating the present escapes us so many times. Don't let it do that this weekend. Turn off the noise, be with people you love or want to connect with. Have this really strong desire to celebrate, to accelerate knowledge, understanding, and connection. And now I turn it over to Susie.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Pam. And let's begin our meditation. So I invite you to take a few deeper breaths, just allowing the body to settle. You take a few deeper breaths in and very gently out. I like to begin my meditations with some what we call box breathing, where we inhale, we hold, then we release, then we hold. And we do all of those at the same duration. So depending on the ability of your breath and what you feel comfortable with, you can inhale for 8 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or counts, and then hold, and then breathe out, and then hold. So you're doing each part of the box breathing for 8 seconds each, or 8 counts, or 5 counts, or 12 counts, whatever works for you. And as you're doing that breathing, just start to feel the body calming down. And eventually, after a few rounds of that box breathing, which actually has a very strong effect on calming down the nervous system. So it's really good to do when you're worked up or very emotional or very stressed out, or even just trying to go to sleep. And then bring our breath to just a very gentle place where your breath is almost imperceptible. And in that place, just recognize how gentle, how soft, how automatic the breath is. It's a very simple, gentle breathing. And for those of us that have busy minds and might even find it difficult to sit down in stillness and meditation, one of the simplest and easiest ways to begin our meditation practice is by counting our breath. And one of my Buddhist teachers taught us to count in rounds of 9. And so you would be counting your inhalation, 1, and then exhaling. Inhalation, 2, and then exhaling. Inhalation, 3, and then exhaling. And we count our inhalation breath up to the number 9. And then we start again. So you're basically just doing very gentle breathing in, breathing out. And if possible, you're trying to do it at roughly the same rate. So you're not doing fast and slow, but just equalizing the in-breath and the out-breath and equalizing the breaths, counting to 9 and then counting gently to 9 and then counting again. So you're counting up to 9 and stopping and then counting back up to 9. And with this type of breathing, it's a way of focusing the mind. So you're bringing all of the energy to focus on the breath. So whenever you have any thoughts, you just bring them back around to the breath. And of course, for those of us that have busy minds, the mind is constantly going over here, over there. Oh, I remembered this. Oh, I remembered that. Oh, I've got to do this. Oh, I must not forget that. The mind is always doing its very best to keep us oh so busy. And sometimes it's almost unnatural for us to have a quiet mind. It's something that we really learn to get used to through meditation. Most of us have very busy minds, and it's what life is about. It's what work and doing things is about. So it really does take some training to quiet the mind, and it takes some training for us to be in command of the mind. And when we're in command of the mind, we learn to also be in command of the thoughts, the thought stream. We also learn to be in command of our emotions. And in many ways, too, we can also learn to be in command of our body. This type of focus on the breath is a way of bringing all of our attention to the breath. So while the mind is being busy, just capture all of that energy and make it focus only on the breath. We don't have to push away thoughts because that takes a lot of energy. But just as the thoughts arise, allow them to just fly by. Allow them to just pass by you. You can recognize them. Ah, there's a thought, but don't engage. Don't engage with the thought. just recognizing, accepting, and allowing ourselves to bring back the attention always back to the breath. And this bringing of attention to the breath is a very, very powerful way of calming down the nervous system, of calming down our body. And with this, we get all of the excellent benefits of increased health, increased well-being. Our body works better when our mind is more peaceful and when our emotions are more peaceful. All of those stress hormones don't do good things for our body. So we want to really bring ourselves into a non-stressed state. That means that our body will release hormones that are for, let's just call it, a peace in the body, bringing peace and well-being to our body. So we're manufacturing our own medicine. We're manufacturing our own peace. It's all coming from within. There is nothing else that we are relying on except simply being present with ourselves and in our own awareness of breath. And as we're gently counting our breath, allowing ourselves to be present, there is nothing else, simply the void of us being here. And gently take a few deeper breaths and allow yourself to open your eyes. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you so much, Pam, for our weekly forecast. We'll see everyone next week. Lots of love. Love now.
You have been listening to Susie Mazzoli and Pamela Cuccinell of Insight Now. If you've enjoyed this program, consider a donation. A link for that at astrologyinsightnow.com. We invite you to join us again for next week's podcast. Please share with others who can benefit from insight, and have a stellar week.